Hello, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida Power BI Microsoft. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Microsoft Data and the AI South Florida user group. My name is Adriano, your host, and today we have another fantastic presentation. And before we get started, I would like to thank you for making the time to be here with us for this presentation, which will be deploying a SQL Server virtual machine on Azure with PoSh, the Florida edition by Kay Sauter. Now, let me know if you can see and hear me as well as let us know where are you located. I see here we have FrickFrack76, Sanjay. Drop a message, let us know. And the live chat is the way for you to ask your questions during the presentation. If you have a question, just drop a question in the live chat. We will follow up at the transition periods to get your questions answered by our presenter. If you're watching us after the event has concluded, please leave your question in the comment section below. And as always, let us know if you like the content of the channel using the like button, dropping comments as well that you like the event, and let us know what would you like to see in this channel. Our goal here is to present and educate everyone with the data technologies, cloud data technologies. All right. So let's take a look at here. So we have, check out this chat. All right, Sanjay, thank you. Oh, it's nighttime in India. There's Sanjay joining us. Thank you, Sanjay, for joining us. All right, folks. Now, without further ado, let's get Mr. Kai here with us. Hello, Kai, and welcome
Hi,
to the Microsoft Data and AI South Florida user group.
thank you, Adriano. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to present for your group. Um, what I'm going to show you is really, like as you said before, with PowerShell deployment, a way how to deploy SQL Server virtual machines on Azure. Uh, and yeah,
Very excited to have you here on this interesting topic. Get everyone to start. It can be used as a starting point to their cloud migration. Is that
exactly.
kind of some of the use cases?
Yes, exactly. The goal is actually really to start with SQL servers. So not really in the Azure SQL, but really SQL Server if you have a framework that is already in place that you want to migrate. I will show you that later in the presentation. So the cases what you could kind of have and why you might opt for PowerShell.
All right, excellent. So that's very interesting, exciting. Let's not delay. Without further ado, let's get started here. And folks, remember, if you have a question, use the live chat to enter your questions during the presentation. At transition points, we will present the questions to the presenter, to Kai over here. All right, Kai, ready?
Yes.
Excellent.
So,
So all you there. Go ahead. Thank you.
uh, just a quick word about me. I'm a data engineer. I'm also a data platform MVP. Uh, I've been working with data since 2008. I specialize in SQL Server, Power BI, SSAS, and Azure. I'm actually deaf. That's why you see the captioning above this presentation, so I can understand Adriano better. I have for this have a bionic ears, cochlear implants, so I'm really fully deaf. So, but with the cochlear implants, I'm able to hear as well. I have also a group that is called DataAISF. The this year in November, I'm also going to organize database.live. It's actually a data conference that is mostly geared towards uh, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. So it's basically the German part of Europe, anywhere, because we last year we had one track in German. So it's actually not just German, but we also try to help people to start into the data world, e- even if they maybe not so uh, well speaking in English yet. I live in Zurich, in Switzerland, but at the moment, right now, I'm actually in Malaysia on my holidays, and I decided to present for you. So, if you have questions, I will have some slides for questions, and also I will ask if you have questions. So, Adriano, you maybe could relay those questions to me. But if you have questions later, you also can reach out to me through those channels I'm displaying here. So I have a blog, for example, Twitter, I have on others. The code I'm going to show you is also on GitHub. I will place it on GitHub later. Just to outline a bit more, what we are going to learn today is we will create a virtual machine on Azure with PowerShell, like I said before. We will also set up a secure connection to the virtual machine via TSL SSL. So there is a secure connection to it where we access to the virtual machine. We'll also install software on the virtual machine via PowerShell. So any software we actually would need for our data engineering needs, like we will see later the different software so we can install them. I will also lose some words on pricing so you have an idea what costs my face come towards you if you use this solution. So at first, I want to also to discuss why we want to use this solution, perhaps also why not, and also to explain to the architecture of it, so you have a basic understanding why how this solution works and how you can alter it if you need to adapt it to your needs. Like I said, also security will be a short discussion. And I will also show you what kind of codes and tools you need for this solution. Last but not least, I will also show you a demo. Demo is going to be split in two parts. One part is a video that I recorded for the deployment. I recorded it because it actually takes about 1 hour, almost 1 hour, maybe so 50 minutes to have the full deployment because this would be too long. I just recorded it so we can see the most important stations of the deployment I've done in the past. And I will but also will show you a demo in a notebook so you can see how you can actually alter the code that I'm going to explain to you according to your needs. So why would we want to automate VM deployment at first? I mean, we also could use just the nice Azure website and just click and point everything. But if you want to have always the same setup easily and also reuse it, or maybe even share with other colleagues at work or somehow, then we have the code is much easier to reuse. We have a good reusability. It's also what is called infrastructure as code. So we actually really can copy and do it again, even if you delete it for some reason. If you want to delete it or need to delete it somehow, you don't have to be afraid of to have to the same settings again. Just use the code and deploy it again. It's of course also very nice to use if you test something. So because maybe you want to delete something, you can also just test it. And you also could use does a showcasing, like if you have a customer, for example, you want to give it to the customer, the customer plays around, just tries something, then you also can delete it again. You also could use it, of course, also for internally um, showcases for like if you're a supervisor. So yes, also maybe want to get around the local installs, so actually don't have to interfere with compliance. It also could be a way of to save costs, because if you actually have a virtual machine that you can delete again, that means you don't pay actually the VM during that time you not having it, because you are really can. I will explain that later again. Uh, as soon as you actually delete the VM, you're actually not paying for it. You're only paying for it normally when you're using it. So the question is now again, why would we want to use PowerShell? PowerShell is a native tool that is provided by Microsoft, so it's actually always up to date with Microsoft, because the API behind it, the infrastructure behind it, is also provided with PowerShell actually. And of course, if you are a DBA like I am sometimes, I'm some mix of a developer, but also a DBA, then you might want to know PowerShell, because actually many DBAs already use it for some good reasons. I will show you that later as well. PowerShell is very powerful for DBAs. There are, of course, as always, also alternatives, for example, ARM, Azure Resource Manager by Microsoft. I will go to show you this on the next slide, more about and discuss it. There's also Bicep, also by Microsoft, which is a fairly new iterative language that actually is a transpiler to ARM. ARM is something that is actually built in JSON. So would also be an alternative, but that means you also have to learn a new language. So if you're a DBA, this is not your focus, the infrastructure, something like this, but you already know PowerShell, this could be a good solution. There are other solutions like Terraform, Ansible, and many more also, but those are not provided by Microsoft. And also own languages could be complex languages as well. So this could be also something you don't really want to learn, even though Terraform or Ansible might be even more powerful than actually with providing infrastructure with PowerShell. I'm just saying, if you are a DBA, you probably want to limit your knowledge and focus on something you really want to do, which is administrating databases. I'm not saying that this is the solution, Adriano, so you still can see the screen, right?
Yes, we can see the screen.
You can see, okay.
Yes, we are looking at the deck.
Okay, great. Um, I'm not saying this solution is good for any case. Just saying if for some smaller solutions with PowerShell, this is great. So, like I said before, I will just show you here Azure Resource Manager, which is actually JSON, what we see here over here. The problem with that is it gets convoluted very quickly. As you can see, this is a very simple introductory sample by Microsoft. And it's you can't really read it. They have a lot of semicolons. You have a lot of apostrophes. You have a lot of brackets. So it's not very easy to read, to close them. So PowerShell is a bit easier here. That's also why Microsoft came up with Bicep. So just as an overview of the Azure platform and also the architecture part, what we are going to talk about today is a SQL Server or the Azure Virtual Machine, which is the infrastructure as service solution. We are not going to talk about this. Those are also options, of course, that Azure provides. But today we are just focusing on this. So, like I said before, there's also some specific scenarios you might to use VMs for SQL Server. One that I want really to highlight is 100% SQL Server compatibility. So, if you, for example, have an existing data warehouse framework that you want to move into the cloud for several reasons, for reducing costs, for security reasons, or whatever, then you can be sure that actually this solution will be working again. While you might have some troubles with the Azure SQL Mesh instance or other solutions that are available to you, I'm not saying those are bad. I'm just saying this is one of the possibilities, one of the options you can use. So, as a basic introduction for a virtual machine is that we have to understand that we have a resource group. A resource group is really just basically a grouping mechanism that groups any objects you may want to have in your group. So that, for example, if you want to move your group to one location, let's say to US East or US South, then you basically don't have to move every and each object like manage ticks or your VM and itself to really create them, but just the group. Basically, you could really imagine it. You grab the group and move it to another location. So now the question to might have how do I bring a backup into a virtual machine? How do I bring it in, actually down? Actually, you can do that with a drag and drop solution that is provided by Microsoft with a storage explorer. You can just do that. Show you this also the next slide. And you also can actually have a storage for your backups on the VM, which also going to show you how on the map is as for example set with the PowerShell. So you actually can actually put your VM your backups to a storage explorer first, to a storage, so that actually you can save cost because the Azure storage is much cheaper than the storage, for example, within that is provided for a VM. What you also can do with this Azure file storage is that we have basically the possibility to connect multiple VMs to the storage, so that actually if you have several VMs, all of them can actually access the same kind of file storage repository, you could say. So to have the file storage, like I said, is way cheaper than the VM storage, and you actually also can map it as a network drive. So now about security, OTP over the internet is risky if you don't have a tunnel, secure tunnel over it. That means if you don't have uh, a VPN or SSL encryption to it, then you might have the risk of, for example, DDoS attack that actually malicious attacker could shoot down your VM because your IP address is basically exposed. So they actually could do this, and it is also possible to sniff open ports. So it's actually fairly easy to do so. So Microsoft came up with a solution that is called Azure Bastion. This is pretty easy to set up. Is managed by Microsoft, who also could see it as a security as a service. Works within the browser. You just have all you need is basically a browser, because the OTP that gets downloaded via TSL, SSL. So it's basically the same security as when you using online banking. So it's pretty secure, and your public address that way gets not exposed. Like I said, there's also an alternative that you can use, that is end-to-end VPN from Azure to the company. That is possible, but for like a TPA, that's probably not easy to do so, because, like I said, we are not the infrastructure people, but we are actually database people. So again, to the architecture here, what we have is the user goes via browser to the Azure portal. Then there is actually a connection to the Azure Bastion. From there, we can actually access the Azure VM, which we will see later in the demo. So what we also can do is we do security with the virtual network. We have also the possibility to have a remote protocol to other VMs. That is also possible. So far, are there any questions, Adriano?
There are no questions at the moment, Kai. Thank you. It's been very clear. Thank you.
Okay, good. So the actual code that I'm showing you is 100 lines long, and I'm not going to all the steps of the code. I'm just show you the main concept bit. So and like I said before, the full deployment would actually take a full hour, almost full hour. So it's the deployment for the VM and Bastion will take about 15 minutes, and the software installs restore about 40 minutes additionally. So it's I'm also demoing the main parts with the video. I'm demoing the browsing objects within a notebook live. Everything what we are going to see actually is done from a desktop in Visual Studio Code. So it's actually really something that is done on a laptop locally towards Azure Cloud. So what we have in the code are some settings that look like this. We have, for example, the global settings of locations here, because I live in Switzerland. Switzerland North will be Zurich, that's where I come from. The resource group name is Conference Lab, basically, so it's just a name I gave. And settings for storage, so you get the idea. So you have basically really the settings for network. That you can change if you want to rename. So now the demo with the notebooks. What we see here, I hope you see my screen. Can you confirm, please, Adriano?
Yes, I can see a screen. Great font
Um,
size, everything is visible.
okay, okay, very good. Okay, so at first I will just show you what kind of PowerShell version I'm using already started this, so I don't have to start it now. So as you can see it's actually 7.3 PowerShell version. I already also connected to the account, so I'm not going to execute this either. So it's just let's focus on the more interesting points. And I also executed this already. As you can see here, it took me because I have a pretty weak connection. I hope it's going to be better next execution that we have for location. For example, I want you to know what kind of location we can get for United States. And for United States, we have this basically. With the US, I can just look for the US, get the location what we have and what we have. But basically, it's really East US, East US two, for example. We also have central US and so on. Um, so those are basically objects we can use instead of the Switzerland North. Well, I said before, um, we also can get the same information on the website by Microsoft. That looks like this. We have the United States. Here we get information, for example, objects that will come soon, East US 3, that is currently not available yet. Oh, here it actually is. No, is it? It's East US is not available yet, but West US, so it's a different one. So we see only the objects that are really available to us. So, if you want to know what kind of services does the region offer, because we want maybe to have some different ideas or the objects that I used here. I'm going to start this now. What we have here is really first we go to the location that we actually check in East US and get all the, the services that the Microsoft provides. And as you can see, it's a pretty long list. We will see later that we also even can check how long the list is, so we can actually compare it with another location to see what kind of locations we have. Also to compare locations and decide for a location. Here I'm going to check this the same thing, East US. Before we went for also East US. This is actually meant to be East US 2. So I now okay, I made a mistake here. Actually, not the same location. I wanted actually here to browse how many services does the location offer. So the system has 178, right? So is services that it offers, and this one is has the East West two, for example, that we saw before. So we can actually now compare it. So we will see East West has more, actually pretty much more services to offer. So that could be an argument for you to actually go for East US. By the way, we also can check here where East US actually is. This is in Virginia, so we actually get the physical location for it. This is also, of course, something we could actually check on the website. So pretty much everything that is actually visible on the website, we can browse it within PowerShell, which actually also makes it easy for you to not to only to browse, but also to, for example, to use it the DevOps way if you want to change something just with the parameter. Um, yeah. The same thing, of course, if you wanted to notice what about the taxes, how many 142 does the user have any virtual machines? So something we can browse. It's also, of course, something we could check on the website. But here, if you really wanted to know, because we wanted to know, does it contain somewhere virtual, for example? We see this SQL virtual machine that actually exists. Virtual machine images exist. So we have those kind of properties available. The same is the question is so what about is to does actually this have yes it also has it. And now let's find the VM we want to use because we want to know does for example do we have VMs that have at least 16 cores up to 32 cores and um, RAM of at least um, 64 gigabyte and up to 120 gigabyte. So what we can see here, we are also quite a long list that we can actually get. I'm also going to explain you the concept of those kinds of naming is. So you have a rough idea of what kind of VM you might want to pick. Okay, we have plenty options here, but how many are there in the East US? You also can count here again. So we have 25 here, and in East US two or a bit less, or like we expected. So it's maybe not so strong argument to have the East US. So yeah, really also can browse this way. So let's get the image offers we actually can select. As we can see, we have also, again, quite a long list. But what we see, for example, is that Microsoft offers SQL Server 2012 with SP on a Windows Server 2012, for example, or also SQL Server 2017 with Red Hat as operating system or Ubuntu, or you even can actually also bring your own license to it. Maybe it's also SQL Server 2022 with a Windows Server of 2022. So if we want to know what kind of image SQs we have in East US is we can, for example, see that we have a SQL Server Developer Edition for SQL Server 2020, but we do not have. I could see that before we do not have 22, for example. I will be that's why I prepared it with SQL Server 2020. We see this is not available, so we see this won't return any results. So if we return this way, we'll see that this exists. We have a SQL Server Developer Edition, which is basically the edition you might want to use for non-production purposes for development purposes, but not in production. Enterprise edition, of course, we have the enterprise generations 2 and so on. Oh yes, here the same again. For here it's the same as what I wanted to show you with SQL Server 2022. We have actually no developer edition. here it actually it appeared some days ago. It was not available yet, so this is new. So this is how you browse PowerShell. Or any questions at this point?
No questions at this point here. And great info there as you are sharing and showing how to use PowerShell to browse through Azure and see what are the different VM configurations and available SQL Server editions that can be used there. Great info. Thank you.
So the question is what kind of VMs you can use and what kind of SQL Server you can use. I'm not sure if I understood the question.
No, it's not a question. I'm saying that you walked us through the different VMs
yes, exactly.
available and
Exactly.
the different SQL servers.
Okay, yes, right. That's right. Okay. So Microsoft also has a virtual machine selector, so you actually can find with a graphical user interface and learn a bit, navigate it a bit, what kind of virtual machine you want to get, and also find the operating system, find
Kai,
the deployment. So this is you actually can do that as well.
Kai,
Yes. Yes.
hi. Can you F5 for the
Yes.
PowerPoint,
Okay.
please?
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. So again, if you want to find on the graphical way at first, maybe it's a good idea to consult the website by Microsoft Azure, the pricing selector. So it guides you through what kind of options you basically have. But of course, that is not something that you can use in code per se. Of course, if some object you know then what is to look for, but that's not something you then later can really use in the code. So this can help you to guide you through a bit what you might want to use. So just give you an idea, since it's not a complete overview, this is quite summarized. The the whole stack that actually Microsoft provides you of virtual machines is much larger. I'll just give you a rough overview to it. For example, we have a entry level, which is actually just for so it's a small powered um, ideas to use cases, for example, for the proof of concept for code reports and stuff like that. It goes up to extreme power, parallel power. This is a very high power for data warehouses analytics, which probably you rarely use because this can actually cost up to around 16,000 US dollars per month. And while a entry level, for example, costs you a few dollars per month. So the span of the possibilities you have is pretty large. For the most cases, probably general purposes will be what you will be using. In general purpose will cost you around together with also Bastion maybe $100 per month, something like that, so around that. So it really depends on what kind of options you are taking. But just to give you a rough idea, what the cost you may face for the picks you do, and of course the more power you want to have, the more cores, for example, more RAM you want, and also more disk space you want, the more expensive it gets. So you pay for the CPU, you pay for RAM, you pay for the space you are using, so the disk space. So you really could imagine it's like a hosting that you have basically. We come back a bit later to this. So it just had to ask about the questions, and I think there won't be any new questions. Am I right, Adriano? Okay, so I um, promised to show you how to map the network drive. Are there any questions?
No questions, Sky.
No questions. Very good. Okay, good. Good. So I promised how to map the network drive, and this is basically a way how you do it with PowerShell. So this is a pretty standard way how you can do it. You just have to replace some stuff like your file store name, for example, that also your password, your username. And file store name is just the name you actually created for the file store on Azure. So this is something you actually can do pretty easy. And just fill it up here. Then you have a copy. I will show you that later into the VM. So you will have this. Then Chocolati is something that is based on PowerShell and is open source and free. With that, you can install software very easily. Just download it and it installs your software automatically. It also checks the checksums for you automatically. So it's very easy and secure. It also has a huge library of software, so it's pretty anything you need from, let's say, a tabular editor to also SQL Server Management Studio, everything you actually can download and install via Chocolate. So in order to do Chocolate, you also have, and this is also published on my GitHub site, but also published on the chocolati.org install. Here, actually, just use this and you have Chocolate installed. You have some other options to install with a zip file, for example, if in case you don't really have access for security reasons, you actually can really have many ways to install Chocolate for that reasons. So just to give you an idea how this is done, we can actually install Chocolate software like this, so Choco install, and you just add software like this, for example, Chocolate GUI, a graphical interface for Chocolate, Microsoft Edge, the browser, the access to you get the idea. And the end, we have just a dash Y for saying, yes, I want to have it installed. Everything actually just automatically. And so you can actually, after press enter here, walk away from your computer and it gets installed, downloaded, everything, and you don't have to care about it anymore. Here, I will show you ways how you may want to do if you want to give some more parameters. Let's say package parameters, additional def, for example, for SSRS as an example. This is also possible. Most packages you can install today do not require this, but some do. And this is now such an example. You also can install Choco, install Power BI that way, of course. So just you don't have to have a long list. Just one software is also possible. Also, upgrading is very easy. You have basically the possibility just to check the all outdated software like this, and it turns back a list. What is outdated? What is the package name? Is the package name then the current version of it? The available version. So we will see, for example, here that actually this is outdated. On the then it also says if it's pinned or not. if you pin a software, which you actually can, is say if I want to upgrade all software like this, to upgrade all -y, then we will keep this version if you pin it. So you pin a software to a certain version that way. Like I said before, it also has a GUI, just looks a bit like this. It's also very nice to see if you are a beginner of this. You can actually also see, if, for example, very easily, if it's something outdated. Here is German, my native language is German. Say this is outdated, to have a different version here. That you also have. You also can look for it here and type the software on them. DBA tools. DBA tools is really the SQL Server Management Studio via PowerShell. You can, pretty much you can do with almost everything you can do with SQL Server Management Studio. You also can do with DBA tools. It's open source, free. It's code is also on GitHub. It's very secure, by the way, because it actually also is signed, and it's also it's created by Chris Limer. Um, she it's also maintained with Chase Pomfret and Sean Milton and Chris Lemaire and Chase Pomfret are also MVPs. Um, so it's also very known in the community. It's very powerful, very easy to use. If you want to learn about it, go to dba-tools.io. So um, this is how you use it. You can actually just do a backup, for example, with one line like this to say it's a backup database. I want to have a SQL instance, SQL 2016, and I want to get the backups on this place here. I specify what kind of backup I want. So this is very easy here as well. It's like I said before, if you do not use a VM, maybe you want to use a VM, let's say for a week, but you actually just using your VM during the day, then it is possible to power off our VM at a given time, so you actually can save money with a day. And it's also possible to start a VM on a given day of time. So you also can actually back up a complete VM just like you would do in a normal VM environment. So you actually, if you want to have not just the database backup, but the whole VM as a backup, then you also can do that. You also can do that, of course, with PowerShell. I'm not going to show you this now today, though, but it's also the restore is pretty quick, actually. It's just, so I guess I'm now going over to the demo. Unless there are again questions.
Oh, yes. Actually, like I have a question here, Kai. You may have mentioned, and I may have missed it during the presentation. And regarding Chocolate, it provides the ability to install and update applications to the VM. And so, does it happen during the installation process, meaning like you did the SSRS, so that would happen while that is doing, or while the VM is running, or both? How
Also,
does it work?
so first you deploy the VM, the demo. I'm going to show the video. We will see this. What we are going to do is to just deploy the VM first, and then bring the code to install the software we need inside the VM. So this is not 100% automated. This is almost automated to something we have to do manually. But apart from that, everything of this point is actually automated. Let me
All
show the
right.
video.
You said you're gonna
Okay.
do the demo, so it's all you now. Thank you. Go ahead.
So this what you see is basically what when you start the code. If you basically hit F5, then you get asked at first for a password for the demo. I mean, one I just defined here, and this is the the password we are also going to use later to log in into to the VM. Of course, you also could do that with a secret storage within Azure. It's also possible to use that. But here for this for the demo purposes, I just using the simple way for it. So you can actually see also that it's afterwards getting used to log into the VM. Here, what we see is the login, how we log into the Azure Bastion. Basically, we are in the browser here, so we are actually on the Azure portal to log in. And here again, we have a username and a password that I've entered, and just connect it like that. And after that, what we see here is the possibility for a clipboard. What we see, actually, you can this way you can bring your text code, not what you come to at the moment is files. You can't bring files over, but you can do a text. You can with the clipboard to bring from your own computer, local computer, to the VM on Azure. You can actually bring it over that way. So I'm opening the PowerShell as you hear, and just pasting and install the stuff I want to do here. For example, here I'm mounting the file store, as I said before. And after that, we will also install Chocolate, Chocolate GUI and everything. So like this, if we need it for some reason, or if you wanted to do it somehow, we also can do restart of the computer. We actually can stay this session for Azure Bastion to just reconnect later again. So we don't have to restart the whole process again. Just to restart like this. And after that, we actually can use the DBA tools for the restoring of the databases like this. And then I'm also going to show that this actually worked. I'll start the Azure Data Studio here and to select the top 1000. So you see this actually has worked. So this I hope I answered the questions with that. Now,
All right. Well, I do not see any questions here. Folks, remember, if you have a question, use the live chat during the presentation. After the presentation, use the comment section below and enter your questions. All right. I do not see any questions here on the live chat. So it's all you. Kai, go ahead. Thank you.
okay. So last not least, I want to say some words about the pricing. Pricing on Azure is actually quite complex. there are different pricing types you have for VMs. The first and easiest one is quite straightforward, and also the default, if you go into Azure, is pay as you go. Then you have also reserved virtual machine instances. Then you have, which is basically, you can really imagine it as a host service that you rent. So for your virtual machine, and also have Azure pricing, is pop pricing, and bring your own license. I'm going to explain a bit more in a second. The, also depends on the hardware you pick. I already said this before. So the more cores, for example, you choose, the more RAM, for example, whatever, the the more expensive it gets, or likewise, vice versa. So it's it also depends on the hardware you pick. So it's that makes also quite complex. Also, lots of the licenses may play some cost factors. So pay as you go is actually the standard. You pay only what on when you use. So it can be the cheapest if you are just cheapest way. So if you are just trying to understand how to use it or something like, or if you just use it every now and then probably this is the cheapest way. Um, if you always use this option, for example, like for a month, 3 months, or even a year, then you can actually get the most expensive way. So the reason behind it is actually Microsoft is not expecting you to always use it. It's so it's then it can be more expensive. But if you delete a resource that actually you have, like a VM, then you are not paying for the resource anymore. So reserve virtual machine instances, that is actually something like a hosting. Like I said before, you reserve a space resource for you, and it can get up to 72% cheaper. If you have a hybrid, so if you bring your own license, like a SQL Server license you have, because you may have just additional you are not currently use for some reason, then you actually even can save more cost. Dev test pricing is also something. If you have just for testing the pricing, then you can actually also profit from it, but it's only for Visual Studio subscribers. So you have to have Visual Studio subscription so you can use it. But with that, you don't have extra cost for software. They can be combined with long-term discounts. So it is either 1 or 3 years plans at the moment. Uprising. Uprising is something quite funny. It's if you have a system that is quite failure tolerant use case. So if you don't care if your device is not available at the moment, then it's not something that you can use. You can uh, really live with certain shutdowns. I think you have 30 seconds before you actually can shut down. So pretty quick actually. So it's, Microsoft can send you a message if you are using it. So you actually get shutdowns. But the benefit of it, you have around 90% less cons. It's ideal for students that just want to play around as a developer. I would say Microsoft says it also could be used for production, but I personally see quite a limited use cases for it because a database system is something you more or less want to have always online, right? So what you for Azure Spot is also special is you can actually say maximum price you are willing to pay. So the idea behind of the spot pricing is that if someone pays more than you do, Microsoft is allowed to take away your resources to give it to someone else. So basically, the calculation power, the CPU, the hardware is then moved to another customer. So that's also why it's so cheap. So it can really be a win-win situation for you if you really are cost sensitive, but also Microsoft has the possibility to give you something that has that could be idle otherwise. So yeah, you get the picture, I guess. To bring your own license is really, as I said before, if you have a SQL Server license lying around for some reason, some bigger companies have a stack of SQL Server licenses that are not necessarily used, so you actually can bring it into it, so you don't have to pay additionally for it. Or if you have a database, for example, that you want to migrate from one instance, and that instance is going to be deleted, you actually can use this license to the virtual machine. I think it's, like I said, actually it can also scale up, scale down machine. That also impacts pricing. So if you want to give more power to the machine, or you resize it, downscale it, it also affects the pricing, because of course you have to pay more CPUs or less CPUs. That's actually changed the pricing as well. Um, you also can actually have a budget to limit expenses, as I will show you later on. So, but also you can shut down virtual machine. As I said before, that if you have it terminated, like at that time I want to shut down the virtual machine, then it actually warns you beforehand. So you actually could, with a link here, just postpone for 1 hour or 2 hours, or even skip an instant, for example, because you want to work on your VM for the whole night, for example. Yeah. If, that's exactly what I said before. If you were not using resources, then it costs less. So the budget here, this is the budget that you actually can set up. For example, we have a progress of 200 francs a budget. And actually, average spend here is this. So you basically could also say, if it actually goes over 80% within 1 month, then please warn me of it, so I can shut down the VM to, in order not to exceed the costs. And you have the cost management to actually can also have a forecast, which is I think works pretty well. The also sort of a worst case scenario. For example, if you do not use so much power, or not always use it, then it just linearly actually tries to project it to the whole month, even though you perhaps deleted your VM. So actually, you have a worst case scenario that's resized. You maybe also resize the VMs. It still would take the worst case scenario of it. So you have a pretty well, a pretty good idea what it is going to cost. It actually changes, of course, after a while. So some days if you resize it, but at first it just really takes the worst case scenario of it. I put it already to it. There's also a helpful VM selector as a web app by Microsoft. There's also it gets you through it, and it gives you an idea how this works. Now, as a recap, what we see is with PowerShell, you get pretty far. You actually kind of a pretty simple way for almost fully automated provisioning only with PowerShell of VMs with SQL Server and restored database is possible with Azure file storage that you actually also can spread to other VMs. Users use the approach from desktop to PowerShell, so you actually for the deployment for the VM, you don't leave the Visual Studio Code. You only leave it later when you go over to the VM to install software and do the backups. If you are DBA and know PowerShell, this may be a good solution. Chocolate and DBA tools are great helps for this. If you have more questions, please reach out to me. I'm available to those channels, and I'll be happy to answer you. Adriano, are you still here?
Yes, I am. All right, folks. Great presentation here from Kay. And he walked through step by step on deploying Azure VM, SQL Server on Azure VMs using PoSh. He walked us through different tools, live demos, and also a recorded demo because of its. He had to do a little cooking show here because it would be an hour the deployment itself. But great information there, very educational, Kay. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. I'm quite sure that everyone had an opportunity to see it step by step. They can come back and look at the video, watch the video, and reinforce anything. You also shared the GitHub where anyone is interested, want to replicate the process, is able to go out there. So folks, remember, just rewind the video, check out the GitHub reference that Kay is sharing here. All right, and let us know, drop your question here in the live chat right now. If the presentation has completed, enter the question in the comment section below. And finally, remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and drop a comment there. If you like the video, let us know. It helps grow the channel. It motivates presenters to keep on doing the great things they do, such as presenting, sharing their knowledge, and knowing that they're doing their initiatives are going towards the right directions and their efforts as well. All right, Kay. Let me take a look here, see if we have any questions. I don't see any question at the moment. Do you have any final words there, Kay?
No, I think I hope it was interesting. You learned a lot of it. I will definitely look again on these channels in some days if I can answer a question here. So if you still want to have a question answered later on, also leave a question here. I will look at it.
Absolutely. And Kay, just hang on 1 second here. After the presentation completes, just hang on.
Sure.
And folks, thank you all very much for making the time to be here with us to learn and grow today with Kay's presentation. And stay tuned for future events, and also check out Kay's user group. It's on, I believe it's on your list of references. Is that correct, Kay? Your user group?
Yes, the data user, data.jf. That's what you mean, right?
Correct. All right, folks. So also check out data TGIF with Kai, some great presentations, great topics, and presenters as well. So accelerate your learning here by using and leveraging user groups in your journey. All right, folks. Once again, thank you all for making the time to join us and learn. Also, Kai, thank you for making the time to come to the Microsoft Data and AI South Florida user group to share your knowledge. We really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, so folks, have a great day. Be well, and see you all on the next event. Take care.